have gone on and looked at the videos? Raise your hand. Nobody. Okay. So there are two different video types that I've done. One is just the slides, and I'm talking to the slides, and then the other is the daily class thing. So take a minute, go on, and look at them. All right. What I'd really like is constructive feedback. What can I do to make them better? What do you like about this style versus the other style? I will continue to record the class sessions like I'm doing now, but on some of the more difficult sessions, I'm not opposed to going in and doing a totally different recording. But if you guys aren't watching them, then I've got better things to do with myself than to spend an hour recording something and then 2 hours doing editing and publishing and all that good stuff. All right. Ultimately, I'm doing these for you. Okay, I don't get anything out of this. I do use my Facebook page, or not my Facebook, my YouTube page, simply because it's a great place to throw this stuff, and it's organized by content, and you can actually go in there and you can look at the last half of the semester for last year when we went to totally online. There are some really good ones in there, and then there are some that could be better. All right. Let's go on. This is not the... Okay, well, we'll talk about systems thinking. Yeah, I've got a slide set I missed. So we've talked a little bit about systems thinking and what it is, and you know, really my first lecture was about systems thinking. All right, and so systems thinking uses habits, tools, and concepts to develop an understanding of the interdependent structures of dynamic systems. Okay, so that says a lot. Let's go to this Waters Foundation. And these slides are old, so some of this content is not there anymore. Yeah, that's not there. Tools and strategies. So we're going to talk about many of these. Okay, so what does this say? In your own words, what does this say? This very first sentence. In your own words, what does it say? Taylor, what do you think?
It utilizes the habits, tools, and concepts.
What does that mean? Yes, sir.
You're using what you already know, what you have, to understand what's going on.
Okay. So, yeah, we're trying to create a framework, right? We're trying to create a framework that we can hang whatever it is that we're looking at off of. And what is that framework? It's built off of things that we already know and understand. Why is it really important that we hang this off of stuff that we already know and understand? Anybody in here an education major? What you got?
If you're trying to do something and you only know about 50%, and there's 50% that could like there's a guarantee that something in that 50% you don't know could go wrong. So if you build it on 100% base of what you know, you have very little like risk involved since you're aware of how everything helps to contribute to the whole.
Okay. Anybody else? So let's talk about how we learn. So think about, everybody picture your favorite teacher, and when I say your favorite teacher, I mean your most effective teacher, because favorite teacher versus most effective may not be the same. What were some of the things that they were able to do? So everybody just close your eyes for a minute and think about your most effective teacher that you had prior to coming here? Or even it could be here. So what do we come up with? What are some of the things that they were able to do? What made them effective? Yes, sir.
They're able to keep the students engaged.
Okay. Zane?
They had a detailed syllabus that laid everything out ahead of time and stuck to it.
Okay. So we'll come back to that.
Oh, they make lots of real life connections.
Say that again?
They make real life connections.
Okay. What does that mean?
So they'll give analogies or tell stories from their own lives that connect.
Okay.
They're able to break down complex topics to help the class further understand it.
Okay.
Eventually move away.
So offering different ways of looking at things?
They're fast, but know how to not leave people behind.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So by building this framework, okay, and this framework is constructed from habits, tools, and concepts, all right, allows us to build linkages, thought linkages to stuff that we already know. And so talk about real world lessons, okay? And so if we're able to do that, all right, it really helps the transference of knowledge and information to somebody. If I just came up here and all I did was throw out a bunch of definitions and who knows what, right? How much of that are you actually going to retain? Very little. You know, you might be able to catch on to a list and memorize that list. All right? So how many people back in grade school, high school, you had to memorize a list of prepositions? They still do that? All right? How useful is that? Yeah, I can still remember sections of it, and you know, I'm 50 years old, and that was in the 8th grade. Been a long time. But real life application, I've never had a single occasion that I could use the list of prepositions. So it was completely pointless. You know, yeah, we were able to memorize them and list them, but what's the real life implication of that? There isn't any, none. That was a complete waste of effort on that teacher's part and every student that went through that class for 40 years. All right. So by developing these habits, tools, and concepts, there are things that we use, and we use constructively to understand in the basis of what we already know. All right, applying these to real-world things that we already have some experience with. And so when I think about some of the most effective teachers that I've had in the past, they were able to take something from every person in that room, all right, and apply it to the task at hand. All right, and the ability to do that is very powerful. Okay, so if I'm pulling something from every person in this class, all right, and they're able to pull something from their own life, what does that give me? What do you think? What's it give me? Besides the wild-eyed hope he called on me, what? What does it give me? So if you've got something that you chipped in on this,
Gives you different viewpoints.
does give me different viewpoints. Okay, expands our scope.
It gives you like a better idea of how to relate to the students, like those in terms they'll understand.
Okay. All right. If I'm able to bring somebody else's perspective into it, somebody else is going to have that synergistic moment of like, oh, I get it. Okay, they have that epiphany. All right. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to build a structure so that we can understand what's actually happening within this system and develop an understanding of the interdependent structures. That's a mouthful. Okay. And so, let's see, there is, let me go to this. Where did it go? There's a one-pager here. Habits of a systems thinker. So these are things that we can do, these are mindsets that we can utilize, all right, to look at a system, all right? So whenever we attack a problem, how do we attack a problem? So you've got something really complex and you're trying to figure out how to do it. What do you do?
I see if I can break it down into something simpler.
Okay? What do you do?
I'm not like word it, but I do like problem solve.
Okay? What do you do?
Find the root of it, try to figure out what's happening.
Okay? What do you do, Zane?
Kind of look at it from various perspectives and find which one might be the
Okay.
best way to go about it.
All right, so we've had 4 different people and 4 different ways that we look at something, right? Same concept, all right? Each of us has a preferred way that will attack something new, all right? But we want to be able to step back out of that and we want to put on a new hat and say, well, let me look at it this way. Let me look at it this way. All right, so something interesting, possibly useful. Okay, so you've heard me use the set of tools. I've used that a lot, and because that's what this is. It's all the set of tools to develop an understanding of something that's fairly complex. All right. Map and explore, dynamic complexity. Again, what we're doing is we're doing simple graphical illustrations to show something very complex, and so that we can gain a better understanding of how it works, and why would we care how it works? What's the bottom line in all of this?
So we can improve it.
Which means what? Money. Okay. So that's what this is all about, okay? It's about saving money. So when I went to my undergraduate in industrial technology, it was about balancing production lines. It's really what it was all about. Facility design and balancing production lines, all right? Because it's about money, all right? If you can go to an employer and say, I think I can save you some money, you're going to have their rapt attention, okay? A unique perspective on reality. All right, as I said earlier, in an earlier lesson, when each of us goes through and we're looking at a system and we're trying to break it down and define it, break it into its simpler parts, there are going to be no 2 examples that are the same because we all look at them differently. And if we go back to the one-page thing there on habits of the systems thinker, all right, it's because we're all looking at things from various ways and we're bringing our own historical experiences to that process, all right? And so things that have worked for us before are going to tend to wind up on the top of the toolbox, and that's what we're going to try to use. And that's all great and wonderful, but we're trying to put more tools in your toolbox so that if something's not working, you can pull out another tool and go from a different way. All right. Awareness of the whole, and then how the parts within those wholes interrelate. All right. And so this really is about relationships of different functions, relationships of different subsystems to each other, and understanding how all that works. All right. And then a special vocabulary, which we express our understanding, reinforcing and balancing processes, limits, delays, and patterns of behavior over time. Okay? And so if you go onto the same site that I was just onto that had those, it gives some good verbiage on that as well, and we'll probably get back to that here in a little bit. All right? So systems thinking is a way of first looking at the whole, understanding through what? How do we look at a system? What's the very first thing that we do? What's that context diagram? What is that?
I mean, you want to identify the inputs.
Okay. Okay. That's part of it. But how do I know what's an input and output? What do we have to set first? Got to set the boundaries first, right? All right, and so when we first start out, we're going to look at the whole. All right, and then as we start delving down and we get into our next lecture, which will be on the swim lane diagrams, all right, we're going to be changing the boundaries on that to look at different things. All right, and that one can be really useful. It's a little confusing the first go around. All right, but the more that you look into it, the more it makes sense, and we'll get to that probably on Wednesday or Friday. All right, and then we're looking at things within the larger context of a pattern. All right, so we're looking to see what types of patterns, what types of things are recurring, and is it something that needs to recur? All right, something. All right, what are the benefits of systems thinking? Understand, gain insight, predict system behaviors. Okay, so how many people have had a computer that wouldn't do something? Is there anybody who hasn't had a computer that they had issues with? You got to be that guy. All right. So everybody write this down. Mr. Sowen, when you have computer problems, he is the guy. I'm making fun of you. So how many people have been able to solve those problems yourselves? Okay. So how did you do that? What's the process? So for example, I was on my home computer and I've been doing a lot of different things over the summer, and I had some configuration issues and I didn't have any audio. All right. So how would I break that down? How would I figure out what's going on with that? How would I make this work? What are some things that I might do? Yes, sir.
You could look into the settings and see what the sound settings are at, where your volume is at, in case that's off, if it's muted.
Okay. So I can go in and basically take a snapshot, right? This is where I'm at. Why is it a good thing to do that for? Why do I care where I'm at?
That's likely to be a root problem, so if you can eliminate that, it gives you a better idea of what the problem might be.
Okay,
if it's
maybe.
not that.
I might be able to just look at this and be like, oh yeah, I've got the wrong drivers installed. Instead of my speakers, I've got drivers set up for a set of headphones. All right? It might be that easy. In fact, it was. Okay? But what also does this do? Yes, sir.
To prevent you from trying to fix something that isn't broken.
Maybe. Okay. What else?
It tells you what things are available to change.
Okay. It identifies major components, right? Yeah, that's good.
It helps you not go backwards. So like if you're trying to fix something and you get somewhere worse than your snapshot, then you just need to go back to that and start.
Yes, that's the major advantage to this. All right, so that when I go in and I mess something up, oops, that didn't work. Now I got 3 things that don't work. All right, I can go back and say, okay, here's what the originals were, and I can reset that, and at least I'm at a place where most things work. Okay, makes sense? All right, what do we do then? So we've got this. What do we do? What would you do? Yes?
Me personally, I would restart my computer.
Why?
Just, if I've had it happen before where I just don't have sound, I turn it off and turn it back on in place.
Did he just say because I've done it before? Did he say that?
I think so. You can quote me on that.
Absolutely. Okay. Does anybody see what's going on here? What's going on?
Using his prior knowledge.
Okay. And also, what else am I doing? 5 minutes ago, he was about to go to sleep.
Yeah,
He literally was. Now what? Now what? Okay, why? Why is he engaged now? Besides the fact that I called him out.
Because you're putting it in terms that he understands, and like a situation that he has to use.
I'm pulling something from his experience, all right? And you might think right off the whip stitch, what does being able to turn your speakers on have to do with systems? Well, it has everything to do with systems. Okay? There's nothing in this world that doesn't have to do with systems. Nothing. Okay? So, all right. So, we're going to reboot because in past experience, sometimes that fixes things. And I would say, yeah, roughly half the time that fixes things. All right? What else? What do we do then? What are you going to do?
I normally Google my problems.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Google. All right. So, Dr. Stephen Brandl, anybody know him? He's the department co-chair upstairs. All right. And one of his famous quotes is that, I don't really know more than you, just my Google foo is better than you. All right. Which means that when he runs into something he doesn't understand, all right, he's able to get very effective searches in Google to find exactly what he's looking for. All right. So what are we doing right now? In the context of my earlier discussion, what are we doing right now?
Like in terms of the situation there, using the tools.
Yeah. Are we building a structure? Here I've got the bones, right? This is where I'm at. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to add some flesh to those bones and maybe even shave the bone just a little bit if I have to. I'm building a structure using tools, all right, so that I can understand. What does Google have to do with building a structure? Yes?
It would be a foundation of knowledge of how to go about what you're doing.
Right. Okay, it's a great repository of knowledge and other people's experiences that have done something similar. I know for me, I mean, really, Google's the first thing that I do a lot of times. All right, machine's doing this. What does it mean? All right, and I look at other people's experiences and what they've done to fix that. Okay, systems at its best. That's what we're trying to do. So we're going to take the same approach to everything that we do, all right, to try and gain a real good understanding of it and predict system behaviors and fix system behaviors. All right. So I think I said in one of the earlier lectures that at one point in time I was a cash register repairman. Okay, at that point in time I had zero experience with electronics, none. All right, but I was able to be pretty effective because I was able to use logical things to figure out why something wasn't working. All right, and I'd say I had probably better than an 80% success rate, which was pretty good. All right, helps you design systems rather than just operate them. All right, so at some point in time, as a critical thinker, we're going to be designing a system. All of us will. All of us probably already have designed systems, we just didn't think of them as systems. All right, I had a couple of different people when we talked about systems that you encounter in your daily life said, oh, my everyday is a system because I get up at this time and then I go and I eat here and then I go and I do this. That's a system. All right. And so as we delve more and more into this, we can create much more complex systems. All right. And then, transfer learning from one domain into another. Again, this is about the transference of knowledge. That's what this class is about. Undoubtedly, I'll overshoot this. Here we go. I didn't. Woo! All right. right, systems thinking habits. This came off of that same site from Waters. Yeah. And this is an older version. They've since updated that. So some of those habits. We seek to understand the big picture. Observe how elements within the systems change over time, generating patterns and trends. All right. There are people that do nothing but that. Okay, they look at the patterns that form and then they map that and they get good at predicting those. Can anybody think of somebody who does that? What type of profession does that?
I don't know, I can't think of the technical name, but like weathermen.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Weathermen. Now they're wrong half the time, or depending on how you look at it, they're right half the time. All right. It's the only profession where they can say, oh, there's a 50% chance of rain outside, and you look and it's already raining. And they're like, yeah, you got it right this time. Okay. What else?
Kind of a stretch, but you can use a lot of that in history.
In what?
History, like historical patterns and wars and stuff.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yes. Hopefully we didn't lose all of that. Surfaces and test assumptions, again, so if we're able to do predictive behavior, that means that we can make assumptions about if X and Y occur, then this will happen, all right? Being able to test that, use the litmus method to see, does it actually happen? Considers an issue fully and resists the urge to come to a quick conclusion, all right? Again, we're looking at things from different perspectives. We're not just looking at it once and saying, oh, there's the problem. All right, well, maybe we did. Maybe we looked here in our settings and said, oh, there's the problem right there. Maybe we have enough experience to do that, but generally speaking, we don't. Considers how mental models affect current reality and the future. Again, it's predictive stuff. Uses understanding of system structure to identify possible leverage actions, leverage points. Where can I make a small change that is going to generate the greatest amount of good or bad? Depending on what the system is that we're doing, it helps us identify areas that we can focus on for maximum effect. All right, consider short-term, long-term, and unintended consequences of actions. What is unintended consequences of actions?
An unforeseen effect of doing something.
An unfortunate effect.
Or unforeseen.
Unforeseen, okay, yes. All right, who all has had that experience before? Anybody care to share? So you looked at something quickly and said, oh, well, if I do this, it'll do this, and then you did that, and then it did that, but there were other things that occurred that you didn't foresee. Yes, sir?
Board games is a big one for me.
What is it?
Board games, specifically Con, if you've ever played Con.
I haven't.
Pretty much, one time I made a move and I thought I was just gonna oust my brother and, pretty much get him to a certain spot that I wanted, and he looked at me, he's like, you're stupid, and took like 3 rolls, grabbed everything he needed to figure out to it.
Okay.
So I didn't really factor in what he may have had in his hand for
All right.
something in that situation.
So your predictive thing was a little behind his predictive thing.
Yes, very far.
Okay. How many people played chess before, or checkers? All right. How many people have thought, oh, this is just a really great move, and then had your butt handed to you about 3 moves later? Yep. All right. So yeah, those unintended consequences, you know, those are the things that we're so focused on one little part of it that we forgot to step back and say, well, what else is going to happen? All right. Pays attention to accumulations and the rate of change. That's actually beyond the scope of what we're going to do. Recognize the impact of time delays, all right, when exploring cause and effect relationships. So for this, back when I was doing my undergraduate work, that was the biggest thing, is that, you know, time costs money. If you go to a factory that's making stuff, if a line goes down, all right, it can be in the thousands and tens of $1,000s per hour that it's costing. All right, so it's a really big deal. You know, if you've got a line that's pushing out parts that are worth $1,000 a piece, all right, it's real easy to accumulate $100,000 or $200,000 of money that we're not making really, really fast. All right, so it's a big deal. All right, checks result and changes actions if needed. Successive approximation and rapid prototyping. We look at this as, oh shoot, and the term just went, whoop, it flew away. We'll come back to that. Hopefully it'll strike me in a minute, I hope. All right, look at this list. How many people can agree with 3 or more of those? Most of us, okay? Planning, organizing, strategic thinking, developing mission, vision, strategy, brainstorming, designing, creating, leading and managing, figuring things out, fixing things. There's something here that just about everybody can identify with, okay? These are some of the things that system thinkers are good at, all right? And it's kind of like, I like to think of it in this manner. As far as leadership, so how many people think that leadership is something that you're either born with or you just don't have it? How many people think that you're born with leadership skills or you just don't have them? Anybody think that? How many people think that leadership can be trained? Okay. So, here's my belief. I believe that some people are just naturally born leaders. They just have this set of, I don't know what you want to call them, characteristics, traits, whatever, that make them very effective leaders without having to do anything else. I also believe that just about anybody can be trained to be a leader. All right? So, what I'm saying is that all of this stuff, even if you say, well, I'm not really that good at that, okay? Some people naturally just do this kind of stuff. It's just the way they've been. All right? I'm a little bit OCD. Okay? I'm a lot OCD. All right? And so a lot of this stuff plays right into it. An example would be when I first took over the engineering project lab, we had, I don't know, 15 different cases of Legos that had been mismatched and put back, and it was just a mess for probably 10 years. I spent a week organizing Legos, all right? And it's sad to say, but I actually took great, immense pleasure in doing that when it was done.
I mean, that sounds
All right.
fun.
Okay? So if you're looking at that and you're saying, oh, I can never do that, yeah, you can. You can train that. Oops, back. All right. Non-system thinkers ask the systems thinkers to do these things. This is what you can get paid for. All right. So do I have to have all these qualities to be a system thinker? No, you don't. All right. But these are things that typical systems people have in common. All right. Getting close. All right, who've heard of the right brain, left brain dilemma, right? We all have, okay? Right brain, synthesize big picture, recognize systems, draw meaningful boundaries in a varied context of life, i.e. experiences, understand human interaction and communication, and then here we have our boundary with all this stuff thrown in there. Left brain, analyze detail, understand design as a process. So what do we have? Big picture, and then we get into delving down and getting down to the nitty gritty and understanding how things really work. What are you? Are you a left brain or a right brain? Most of us have tendencies one way or the other, but You know, we're able to pull both sides of those brains to be effective people, all right? And if you're a student, you're doing just that. All right, let's see. I think we're gonna let off right there. Are there questions over what we've covered? All right, does anybody have any issues with Moodle? Okay. All right, I will see you on Wednesday. And I will say that there are labs on the second floor here that have computers. All right, if your personal computer is not working, you can actually come in here and do work if there's not a class. You can also go up to 217, it's an open workshop type thing, and you can go in there and do what you need to do. All the software that you need will be there.